Welcome to the Five Peaks podcast. I'm Sam, this is Alex, and we're excited to start this podcast with you guys to share what's going on at Five Peaks on and off the mats.
Our goal is to bring you lessons, tips, and stories of jiu-jitsu that we can share with you to help you along with your journey. And for our very first episode, we have coaches Mark and Carlos joining us today.
Yeah, guys, so today we're excited to get into how Five Peaks started, more about these guys that we see every day yelling at us, teaching us jiu-jitsu. So we're going to jump into today's episode, and we're going to start off with Carlos just sharing a little bit about his start with jiu-jitsu.
So I'll keep it short. I started consistently December 2004. But prior to that, I had actually trained a little bit at a high school club, San Diego High, for about 3-4 months. And then after that, I got hurt and didn't do anything for the next couple years. And then in early 2004, I got the itch, but I was pretty intimidated to sign up anywhere. So finally, in 2004, December, I got the courage to do it, and I just walked into a gym and said, here's my money, sign me up, and I haven't stopped since. So that's the short story without much detail, but I'll share more on that.
Hi, I'm Mark. I started jiu-jitsu in unofficially 2001 in college. I had a buddy of mine, he trained jiu-jitsu up in Sacramento. He was a purple belt, and he kept trying to get me into it. I had the same excuses as everyone else. I'm not in shape, I'm not stretchy, I'm not bendy. Eventually, I think it was 2004, right about 2004, 2005, I officially signed up in Sacramento with Casio Wernick. And then a few months after I came back down to San Diego, I was training here with Gracie Baja team. After that, due to work, I had to move, and then I started training with Johnny Faria, who I got my black belt from through the Humaita school, and then now he's got Alliance. So I was training and teaching at that gym, and then me and Carlos opened this up, and we've been here ever since.
That. So real quick, couple questions, because I guess I've never really heard you guys talk about your journey. So you said you started at a high school club? Mm-hmm. So is that like normal around here for it to be, like, was it part of the high school?
It's not a normal thing, but there was these 2 blue belts that were from a school that's no longer around, Odi Neto, and they had this club that we had like MMA guys. They weren't even MMA. They were Vale Tudo guys. There were catch wrestling guys that would come together. So literally, we were just there, and you would show up, and you had no idea what was gonna happen. I learned a heel hook the first 2 days that I had been there, and I actually tore something in my knee like within a month because I got heel hooked and I had no idea how to escape. So it was just like a ragtag thing, but it was what I wanted. I knew I wanted to try it, but yeah, like these guys were just, again, like some random blue belts. I think his name was Igor or something like that. And then I met other guys from other teams right there, where I eventually started at Fabio Santos.
Cool. So, what would you say was the hardest belt, and for both of you guys, the hardest belt, and did you guys compete, and at what belts?
You or me?
You got it.
All right. So I wouldn't say there was a belt that was like hard for me, because as a blue belt, I had already made it in my in my mind that I was gonna be a black belt right there. But so once I received my black belt, I would say that's the hardest belt for me because I struggle with anxiety and I've always had a huge what do they call it, imposter syndrome with everything I do. So I'm always like doubting myself. So throughout the belts, like blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, those were fun for me. Black belt, the first I would say 2 3 years, I struggled with it because I was like, man, I don't deserve this. I'm not ready, and that it wasn't fun. So that for me has been the hardest belt. Now I'm in a different stage in my jiu-jitsu journey. So it's no longer about me. It's not the same. So that has kind of uh, it's gone. That anxiety, that putting all that pressure on myself is no longer the case on a personal level. Now it's just like, how do we make our students better?
For the same question, same thing I think with black belt. Not so much the hardest, but the same thing. Like, there's a lot more pressure as a black belt because you're expected to perform a certain way, and like sometimes sometimes it doesn't work out, right? And then especially now with everything going on with technology and the YouTube that came out, just the information's more readily available. These lower belts are getting like exponentially better than when we started. So you walk in there as a black belt, like old school style, and then you got these new kids that see everything under the sun as a blue, purple, brown belt, and they still have youth, they still have everything going for them, and you're getting smashed. So that's a tough pill to swallow. But like Carlos was saying, after a while, you're not thinking about yourself and your performance anymore. Now we're trying to get our students better. Yeah. For competition, when I first started, I think from what I've seen with our students too, I never thought that I'd be competing. Nobody signs up wanting to compete. You just want to come in and self-defense. You get your fitness in. I've also always had anxiety as far as competing, being on that stage. But white, blue, and purple belt, I was pretty active in competition, and then I started working more full time and not enough time training, or at least I felt for myself. So purple belt was the last time I competed.
How Five Peaks was created. What is the story on opening a jiu-jitsu academy, and most specifically for families, one that focuses on that?
So Five Peaks came about. Uh, it's a very selfish reason for myself. So I opened a plumbing business in 2011, but really tried to like develop it and make as much money as I could starting like 2016, 17. So from 2016 to like 18, I'm barely training, just working from 6 a.m. to like 6 p.m. every day. I think I'm going into the gym maybe 2 3 times a month at this point, and I find myself like not being connected to my friends or to the gym, and I'm struggling with that because I'm going home and I'm just cracking open a beer, or I'm just doing estimates, and I feel myself not being very happy. So then I'm like, man, I really got to start training. So I went back, and at this time, Mark is teaching the fundamentals classes at Alliance San Diego. So I start taking his classes, and I'm like really enjoying it because there's a ton of stuff that I feel like I missed, even though I'm a black belt at this time. So I'm like, oh man, this is brand new. I hadn't thought about that, or how did I miss that uh, as a blue belt? I should know that, right? So it it was a couple years where I took his classes, and then I started feeling more comfortable going back into the advanced classes, but I really enjoyed the way that he taught. So I go back to like 2017, right? I drive around a lot for work because I'm constantly throughout every San Diego neighborhood, and I happen to drive to Terrasana and I see a vacant, what I think was Curves, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, like there's no jujitsu out here, right? In reality, there's a ton of jujitsu around here, but in this specific neighborhood in Terrasana, there isn't one a gym, right, at the time. So I don't think about it, and then I find myself back in 2019 looking for a reason not to quit jujitsu. So I'm like at the point where I'm not showing up, like I'm working too much, and I need a reason to actually continue doing jujitsu. And me being the business person I am, I'm like, all right, well, if I open up a gym, then I have no reason not to go. So that's when I suckered Mark into to open a gym with us.
That was the other way around.
No.
Yeah, he suckered you.
No, so I suckered this guy into opening a gym with me. Best thing we've done.
Did you guys know each other before, like, you taking his classes?
So we met like 2000, what, 11, 12?
Right about, yeah.
Yeah, so we knew each other and we're friends, but like we're not seeing each other every single day, and we're like on group text, messing around, stuff like that. But
Did you guys ever get to train together?
yeah, we trained with each other a lot.
Oh, that's good.
You guys.
So I've been teaching fairly regularly since purple belt through the Gracie Baja gyms, and then when I went over to with Johnny Furia at Homaita, and then what he has now, Alliance. So I was teaching there, also juggling that with my full-time job, and I don't know how far along into it was, but I told myself, because I knew Carlos, I knew how his jiu-jitsu was, his attitude towards it. Plus, he's already got, could we say successful business? Yeah. Yes. So I told myself if Johnny or Carlos had propositioned me to open a gym, I would do it, right? Just to myself.
So it was like in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Nice.
So here comes Carlos.
Your dreams came
Yeah,
true.
he put it out there, and I mean, even though I had apprehensions, I don't know. My parents just work for someone else, right? We don't open businesses. We don't do anything like that for ourselves. But when he brought that to me, I remembered what I told myself. So I was like, yeah, let's do it, right? I trusted him enough that he's got his own business established. What can go wrong? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we pulled the trigger on it, and then we're here.
5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
What is the meaning behind Five Peaks Jiu Jitsu? How did you guys come with the idea of naming the gym what it's named, and then what does it stand for?
So Five Peaks came about when we first opened. We wanted to be, we weren't going to name it after ourselves. We don't have like a big school affiliate, so we wanted it to be tied into the community. We threw a lot of names around. A lot of them focused around Terrasana,
Murphy Canyon.
Yeah, Murphy Canyon, all this stuff, which seemed, generic, right? But over here, the regional park, they've got the Five Peaks trails. You hear the name a lot, and it rolls off the tongue. It's kind of memorable, so we went with that. It also ties in with jiu-jitsu as the belt system, the kids and the adults, right? The kids are white, gray, yellow, orange, and then green. So there's five belts there, and then with the adults also with the white, blue, purple, brown, and black. So each of those peaks would be another level in that belt system.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you guys opened up the gym, you guys connected. I think that story's kind of crazy where you're like, in the back of your mind, you were like, if someone approaches me, one of these two people approaches me. So, and you also mentioned like not having like that entrepreneurial business like mindset at all. So like, was there any like fear behind that? Like jumping into that? Like, what was like your thought process behind that? Like, were you just gonna lean on Carlos? Like,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
It was people are making making a living teaching it, that's always an option, right? I mean, if you've got the guts enough to put the money in and then go for it. So when he put the opportunity out, I had to take it, especially since I had already told myself that I would. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, we're pretty happy that you guys decided to go for that. So the gym has kind of evolved into this family focused. We have the kids, we have the parents. Was that the idea from the beginning? Did it kind of form that way? I know Carlos mentioned like the community of Terra Santa. I feel like we're pretty plugged into this community. We give a lot, or you guys give a lot as a gym to the community. So I guess my question is, did the philosophy and like the idea of the gym, was that it from inception, or is it like kind of just grown to that for you guys?
So when we were first looking at this location, the first thing I did was look up how many schools were in the general area, right? And again, this is like me going back to business. Every time that I saw a successful program, it had a big kids program. So I knew that that's what we wanted. And then it just so happened that there was, I think, 6 elementaries in the area, including charter schools, and then 1 or 2 middle schools, and then the high school. So I knew we wanted to be kids focused. Eventually, I mean, this is kind of like the Constitution. It's a living document. We're constantly changing. The way that we have developed into being a very family-focused gym, a lot of that has to do with Alex being part of the team as well. So it's the people who we're attracting and bringing into our like smaller inner circle that allows us to develop what we are now. It's not just me and him like, hey, this is what we're doing. It's, hey, we want to do this. How do we do it, guys? You guys are a ton of that. Like everybody who is part of this podcast, all the coaches are constantly helping us. We're not, I think one of our strong suits is we're willing to listen to others and we don't know everything. And it's like one that I think has been one of our strongest assets. Another thing is like, hey, give before you receive. So that's something that we've done throughout. Like when we started, we actually started with 0 students. Like that was the dumbest thing we could have ever done. But like if you build it, they'll come, right? So we've always given before we've expected anything, and it's obviously worked out to this point.
Clearly going to be one, but like, what were some of the bigger obstacles that you guys were met with?
COVID. Right. So we started in the fall of 2019. The first, like a week or a month, we're sitting here staring at each other, empty room. Right. We had some people come in asking questions, but it was a tough start. We gave it away for free the first month just to get bodies in the door. And then we show them the value that we can provide for them. And then that got the ball rolling. Towards the end of 19 and early 2020, we're picking up a lot of momentum. So we started feeling better about that. And then March 2020 hit, and then we had to close down a couple weeks to flatten the curve. Being nice guys and trusting what the government had put out, we're like, hey, we'll freeze everyone's account, right? Because we're not providing a service for them now. That's only fair. Right. And then 2 weeks turned into months, turned into more months. So that was a real tough one. We're not getting any revenue coming in. We still have the landlords knocking on the door, calling on the phone for their money. So that was a tough one. So we had to switch gears from there, and we had to take our classes outside because of yeah, the indoor restrictions, spacing, all this. So we took it out to an outdoor park and provided what we could out there. So that was the biggest struggle.
That's where we met. Hey, we saw Five Peaks, and guess what? We were out there at the park with Oliver. He was just 4 years old, and we had Mila around 2 years. And we took the classes out there, and we've been here, 4 years now? So it goes by quick. And now here I am training 2 years later. So I want to ask, what is the most memorable thing that's happened to you guys with Five Peaks? Is it like having the whole community coming together? I know you guys are great about gifting a lot to the community, which is nice. We do have a lot of the military community here. Obviously, us being part of that community, it's been great to grow into it and bring other families into the gym too. With that, what has been the most memorable thing for each one of you within Five Peaks?
I think the most memorable, I don't have one specific thing, but just that the community has allowed us to be here and put their trust in us with their families. Even now, it's crazy if one of our students has issues at school or at home, they ask us to talk to the kids. You know what I mean? And myself, I don't have kids of my own, so it's weird to me that you want me to talk to your kid, like. I don't,
But it's
what am
that
I supposed to
trust
say?
you're building with
Yeah.
them, because a lot of the kids see that and that they can come to you for that. I mean, we've had that a lot happen recently, so it's just nice that they do trust you enough, especially not just the kids but the parents, to be able to come up to you and be like, hey, this is what's going on, and then you sit out there. It's been really nice watching you help the kids grow. I mean, you've had kids here since the beginning, that you've opened and you've seen them grow up, and you have kids that are new, but there's some that have come here and like bring those problems to you. So it's been nice to see that for sure.
Yeah. So I don't have like a memorable event, but that's the one thing I'm most appreciative of.
Kind of the same thing where it's not like an actual event. When we opened, I don't think we realized how like deeply entrenched the military families are in this neighborhood. So that's not one thing that we accounted for. And then when you start having the kids in the program and you see them start struggling because mom or dad is deployed, it's like, oh man, like what can I do to make this easier for that family? Or now that family is coming like, hey, he's really having a hard time at school, or she's having a hard time at school, or even at home because dad's gone. So we don't, I mean, I never realized how much military kids go through, things like that. So just being a place that is a constant for these kids and for these adults as well. I mean, it doesn't change. The adults, when mom is deployed, some of the dads will come in here, and then this is where they spend their evenings with their kids because now they're not in front of the TV or whatever the case. That it's easier for them to do that. Everybody's doing exercise together. So being able to be a constant for the community, for me, is super helpful. I think it's done a lot for me, more so than what I've done for the community.
That's pretty fair. I'll add to that. Like that picture right there with you holding Lana was probably one of the most pivotal moments for me, where I was like, jiu-jitsu is more than jiu-jitsu. Like it's a family, it's a community, and like Five Peaks is a tool. Like it's really a tool where they are, like you guys just said, like you are helping parents parent, you are helping the spouses with support. Like Ben was deployed, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to stop jiu-jitsu because I can't go. Like I can't go. I have 3 kids. And I remember Mark's like, oh, just bring them. It's fine. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, well, what am I going to do with them? I can't put them in my pocket. So I bring them in, and they're playing with the other kids. And then Lana gets super tired, and I look over, and you're carrying her. She's asleep in your arms. And I'm like, this is
I'm dead tired.
Yeah, for sure. You're like sitting in the corner, but you're like, I was like, this is a family. Yeah,
Jiu-jitsu.
exactly. And like at that point, I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not sure what other jujitsu's out there, but this is our place, and that was big for me. So I would definitely agree with all of those. Like, you guys are definitely more than just a gym, 100%. And I know the military community appreciates that for sure.
All right, I think you guys want to wrap it up. Anything else we'd like to say about this little gym that could?
For me, I just want to say that I'm super grateful for both of you, for what you guys do for the gym, and then now adding this to your plate as well. So you two are doing a good thing, especially for the moms and for the families out there, right? If they can listen to your experience and if that helps one family, awesome. You guys did your job.
Cool. So we're going to wrap up the episode. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Carlos, for joining us today. You guys keep looking out for the episodes. So this is going to be episode 1, and we have a couple more coming out where we're going to introduce the rest of the team. All right.
So we'd love to hear from you guys, our listeners. If you guys have any questions, stories, anything you want to share with us, with the gym, with the coaches, we're always happy to answer some questions. You know, whatever it is, we're here for you guys. You can reach us on our social media. We got Facebook, we got Instagram. Our Instagram is at 5 Peaks Jiu Jitsu, as Mark likes to say the handle. It's just 5 Peaks Jiu Jitsu. And then you can come and see me at the front desk too. Drop a comment. You know, we're always here for you guys. Oh, I prefer texting. It's easier, you know. But our phone number is 858-240-1440.
So to add to what Alex said, kids, if you want to send in your jokes, we're going to be doing birthday shout outs. We're going to be letting you guys tell us some jokes. So have your mom, dad, send in those jokes to that same phone number, like Alex said, text her those videos, and you guys will be featured on the podcast. All right, so we're going to close it out, and we'll keep updating you guys. We're out.
He still has to.
Oh,
No, you're good. That was good.
I thought he was handing it over.
Oh. Hey, what was the question again?
Talk about how I suckered you
So,
into it.
talking about how
we
it came
started.
about, like how it all came about. Like, how did you guys?